What is up, you guys? I'm gonna give. Can you log on and see if you can hear me on your phone or something? We're gonna give it a little bit to let people get in here. Hopefully, you can hear me. Oh, good. Thank you, Rachel. This is my first time being live on YouTube, so welcome to the home gym. I got confirmation people can hear me. Okay. We'll give it a few minutes just for people to come in if they're gonna come in more. If you have burning questions at the top of your head, you can put them in the chat and I'll make sure I answer them as we go. And you're getting the first glimpse at the home gym in live person. And my wife is my tech person, so if anything goes wrong, just blame her. Sounds about right. All right, so we'll give it like one more minute, and then we will. Oh, Rachel said hi.
Hi, Rachel.
If you know somebody needs to see all this stuff, make sure you text them and say we're live. They can listen to it. But I figured this would be a good time to see and show and talk about all the stuff tomorrow ahead of time. If you get any dogs that come through the picture. And regardless, you guys will be able to access this stream again, even when I'm finished. I know my face is cut off, but you're gonna need to see the lower half anyway. It got released. Yes, it's barbell. It is barbell thrusters. Yep. Barbells. It's a good question. All right, I'm gonna start going through this. If your partner needs to see any of this or you have any questions as we go through it, make sure you ask them. Rachel, I know you're on here. Who else is, we got 2 viewers. Wow, it means I'm famous, but yeah. So the first workout, it's pretty simple. Really the only movement that a judge would be able to maybe no rep you on or like give you feedback on is the squat, right? And what makes it difficult is the synchronized part. And number one, the standard of a squat is that, the hip crease at least breaks the knee, right? So even me lifting my knee here, that's not quite to depth. I would have to squat all the way down. So if you were looking at me from the side, which I think this is side profile, to go all the way down, this would be a rep. This would not be, because you can see where my hip crease is, right? So in order for it to be synchronized, the main point is that it's synchronized at the bottom, right at the bottom of the rep. So both partners are achieving the right depth at the same time and then standing all the way up, right? So that's one place that you might get no rep at. The other thing is standing up all the way, right? Especially when we're going really, really fast, it becomes super easy to just kind of like keep the body lean forward. So as you're doing the squats, typically when you go really fast, what tends to happen is we kind of stay here, right? That's technically not extension because my hips, shoulders, and knees are not in the same line. So in order for it to be full extension, those 3 pieces, knees, hips, shoulders, need to be in the same line. And that's what the judges will look for, right? They're looking for both of you to get to depth and both of you to stand up all the way. So to come all the way down and stand all the way back up, right? That technically would be a no rep because you're hunched forward. So that's the main things, right? Proper depth and standing up all the way and being synchronized at the bottom with your partner. Rachel, any questions on that one? Okay, good. That's really that first workout. Besides the cardio machines, I mean, while we might think some people look like dorks when they row and ride the bike, you can't really be judged on it because you just got to do the calories or the meters. Kind of is what it is. But that is the main thing for that workout. Hang on, I'm going to make sure I read all the workouts the right way. So that's workout 1. Workout number 2 is when it kind of gets, we finally start to have some movements where you could be graded on, right? And at the part A, right, is the 6 rounds total or 3 with each partner. It's deadlifts, alternating dumbbell snatches, and burpee box jump overs or burpee step overs for scaled. With the deadlift, let me get my PVC pipe. With the deadlift, get all the fuzzies off it. With the deadlift, what people are usually looking for is for you to get extended. Notice I said knees, hips, and shoulders when you squatted. Well, when you stand up at extension, those things are still in line when you deadlift, right? So you're picking your deadlift up off the floor. You just need to make sure that you get knees, hips, and shoulders stacked before you come back down to the next rep, right? Again, the main thing when people go really fast with their deadlifts is they don't stand up all the way, right? The shoulders end up staying here, and then they go again. That's a really easy way to say, hey, you can stand up all the way, and you're just doing extra deadlifts, which nobody wants to do, right? So that's the main thing. That's about it, right? Picking the weight up. Even if you have bad form, which obviously we don't want, if you stand up all the way, the reps can count. And you don't need to like exaggerate your stand up. They just need to get in line and then to go again. With the alternating dumbbell snatches, my gym has everything, so I have dumbbells here. The dumbbell does need to touch the ground, right? The dumbbell does need to touch the ground in order for the rep to count, and you need to show extension overhead, right? So the main thing, I'm going to touch this up a little bit. This is the upper body thing. The main thing is when you go overhead, your arm needs to be in a straight line and you stacked, right? That whole idea of being stacked becomes really important, especially when there's standards and you're at a competition. So when you do this, the goal would be to come all the way overhead and show control, and then you can switch, right? Touches the ground, goes back overhead. Like from a side profile, you can see even if the dumbbell's out of the picture, I'm stacked in a straight line. My arm's not bent. It's not way out in front of me. That's the kind of stuff that the judges are going to be looking for. One, that you're alternating hands, right? Back and forth. It's not that many reps. And then getting stacked overhead. So arm, shoulder, dumbbell all in the same line and going back and forth. You can switch at any position that you want. And the 3 main ones are overhead, which is going to be the fastest one, at the shoulder, or at the ground. But it does go ground to overhead with the same hand. You don't switch halfway through, right? So all the way overhead, and then I can switch up here, or I can switch at my shoulder, which I typically talk about in class. Anything like that, as long as the rep starts at the ground and finishes overhead, okay? My computer's on my box, so we can kind of pretend about some of that stuff. The main thing with the burpee box jump overs, and Ellie's in the picture now too. The main thing with the burpee box jump overs is that your chest has to hit the ground when you do a burpee. I mean, that's it, right? That's most likely where people are going to get warned or no rep, is that their chest is not going all the way to the floor, right? A proper burpee would be like you just fall to the ground. So chest and quads touch the floor when I go all the way down and then come back up. I'm not going to have a standard if you need to jump up. So if you want to do your burpee and step up, that's totally fine, right? So you could do your burpee and step your feet up. I'm okay with that. RX, your 2 options are you can jump on the box. You have to jump off with 2 feet and land with 2 feet, or you can clear the box, right? So you have to jump off of 2 feet though. So if you've seen Coach Kellen do it, right, he can just clear the box when he does box jump overs. That is acceptable for RX. For scaled, you have to do step ups, right? So you have to do a burpee and you have to step up and over. There is no option to do box jump overs, because if you can do those, you should have went to RX, right? So you have to do that. You do not have to alternate legs, right? it is 6 burpee box jump overs before you switch with your partner. You can step up with your right leg the whole time. There is no you have to switch legs. We're looking for you to do the rep and step over. The movement ends when you step over, right? So on rep number 6, you would do the burpee, step up and over, and then it's done, right? So that's when the rep is over. This workout has 2 parts, so that's the first part, right? The 6 rounds. Then regardless of how long or fast it takes you, at the 9-minute mark, everybody gets a 2-minute rest. So if you go really fast, you just get more rest. If it takes you 9 minutes, you're going to get 2 minutes of rest. And then after those 2 minutes, so starting at the 11-minute mark, everybody, both partners are trying to find what their heaviest clean is for the day, right? As long as it is not a hang clean, which means it starts at the waist, if it comes off the floor and you clean it, that is allowed. It can be squat cleans, it can be power cleans, and it can even be, I kind of joked with Lindsay if she's on here, right? You can split clean. That actually is something that is more advanced and kind of an older technique, but that is a real thing, right? So if it comes off the ground and it gets to your shoulders here and you show control, it's going to count, right? But it has to come off the floor. There's no pausing at the hip. To show control, what does that mean when you clean, right? So when you, hang on. So I decided not to do that, right? Just because you got 5 minutes, you're only going to be able to lift so much anyway. So Rachel just brought, that was a really good question if anybody's looking at the chat, right? I heard that you can only add weight, not take it off. I thought about that. That is not a thing, right? If you think you're going to put weight on and then take it off, I'm going to allow that because it's going to eat up time, right? So you're trying to play the game of not missing. But technically, you and your partner can lift as many times as you want and change the weights as much as you want, and is what it is. That's what I'm going to allow. It'll keep it easier for everybody, and I think it'll be better that way, right? You can add weight, you can take weight off, whatever you do as your max lift or your heaviest lift is what I'm going to score, what the judges are going to score. And that's for both partners, right? So even though this is one workout, there's 2 different parts that are scored, part A and part B, right? Part A would be how fast it took you to do it, and part B would be what's the total amount of weight. So like, I know Rachel's on here, so I'll keep using her name, but if Rachel and I are partners and we both lifted 100 pounds, our score for that part is 200, right? So it's the total amount of weight lifted. So technically you could just have one baller partner that just lifts a ton of weight, right? Like if I was partnered with Kellen and he just lifts a crap ton of weight, we would have a really good score, right? Because he lifted a lot of weight, but it's total. And yeah, you have a 5-minute window. But what I was saying before that was a really good question though, was, well, how do you show that you have control of the bar when you clean, right? When you caught the weight. So if I'm either power cleaning or I'm squat cleaning, 2 ways. One, when you get the weight up, you stand here and my knees, here they come again, knees, hips, and shoulders are in the same line and my elbows are through the bar, right? Or as far as you can get them, and you have control, right? A really easy way to do that is when you're at a competition, right? You clean the weight and you wait for the judge to say good. I mean, that's a really simple way to do that. You look for confirmation the lift was good, right? Especially if you're trying to max out, you don't want to waste anything. You don't want to get no rep just because you stood up too fast, that kind of stuff. But that's the main thing. And it can be squat clean, power clean, any way that comes from the ground. It is not a hang clean. The boxes are 24 inches for the guys, both RX and scaled, and 20 inches for the ladies, RX and scaled. Just like the typical weights that we usually recommend in class. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. And then the third workout's going to be the fun one, right? I kind of threw wall walks in there, kind of getting some feedback from you guys and some other people. You know, part of when we do competitions like this is to try to challenge you, right? So maybe put a movement in there that a lot of people either have heard of but don't try, or they avoid, or kind of put you in a place where you're surrounded by our community and you're encouraged to try it, right? Like, yes, it's in a competition setting, But typically those are the places that you're going to push yourself. And either one, find out you can do it, right? Or two, you're going to find places that you need to work, right? So as we go through the year and go towards the spring, when we have the big alpha games, you're going to know what are the things that I need to work on outside of class or in my free time. That's it. It's exactly what these are for, right? So they're for fun, but they're just kind of a test of where your fitness is, right? Anytime that you do a test, it kind of shows you where you're at. But it's 21:15:9 of thrusters with a barbell. That question was asked earlier. Are we using barbells? Yes, we're actually going to bring the barbells down to the gym, and we're going to do the thrusters and the wall walks in the gym so that we're not on the meters, right? I just don't want like 20 people doing wall walks on the meters. The thruster kind of is what it is, right? It's in the front rack. It's squat to show extension. Exactly the same thing we've been saying. Shoulders, hips, and knees in the same line. You stacked overhead with the bar, right? That's what's going to be tough about that is that people aren't going to want to get extended because they're either trying to go really fast and they're pulling the bar back down, or two, they're tired, right? It's going to be a lot of shoulders, a lot of upper body. So you're pressing, you need to get extended overhead. With thrusters, right, the tough part is going to be if you break it up a lot. Obviously, take breaks as you need it, but the less you have to clean the bar up and do it, the better, right? So the more bigger sets that you can do with a smaller rest, the better. And actually, if you're going to rest with a thruster, it's typically, should we start with a PR weight? So hang on, I'm going to finish what I was saying and then ask that. It's a good question, man. So typically when you rest with a thruster, you can actually give yourself a second of rest at the top because you're stacked, and then go again. Okay, pause. Next thing. He asked a question, Ron did, about where should we start with weight on part B of the second workout. If you haven't tested that workout and you try to do it clean after that first part, it's going to feel a lot different because you're tired, right? So what I would say is maybe a little bit below what you've hit most before, because the goal is just to get points on the board, right? If you miss every lift, your score is 0, right? So what I would do is start at a weight you know you can hit and then kind of build up from there. If each partner had 3 chances to lift, that's I would say that's pretty good. You don't need to lift a million times, but I would make sure you start with a lift that's pretty good, but you know you can make it because you want points on the board. That was a really good question. And then back to what I was saying, I was talking about thrusters in the third workout. So the thrusters, the main thing are squat to depth, which we talked about, right? The hip crease in the knee, and then show extension overhead. The big thing is going to be the wall walk, right? What is the standard with the wall walk, right? If you weren't around, you hadn't been doing this kind of exercise before, a couple of years ago, we had wall walks come up in the CrossFit Open, and I have competed in that. I've done that, which is a worldwide competition. So I'm going to use a very similar standard to that. So for RX, essentially what the standard is, I even got a tape measure out here to kind of show you guys. On the wall side, I'm going to point this down so we can kind of see the bottom of my wall. On the wall side, like where your feet would be, the line that your hands need to go back to is going to be 10 inches apart, which is right here, 10 inches from the wall. So as your feet go up the wall, you will be moving your hands back until you touch the line. It doesn't have to be your whole hand, just whatever part of both your hands touch, which if you're walking backwards is going to be your palm. Touch that line and then come back forward. The line that's at the front, like when you're laying down, what's by your hands, is going to be where your shoulders are, right? So before you start, we're going to put that tape line down, the judges are. So everybody proportionally to their body is going to go to the same spot. They're going to go to their shoulders, right? And then, so that's the main thing. So you're going to start, and it's not whole hand over the line. It's fingertips that are on the line by when you're laying down. And then when you go to start, this is going to be the big one where people are going to get no rep or they're going to get super frustrated. Your feet need to be on the wall before your hands move. Okay? So if I'm laying flat on the ground, I can push up, like I can push my body up and be on my knees, but my feet need to start to go onto the wall before my hands move. And then the opposite of that has to come on the way down. So when you walk back down, your fingers need to be touching the tape before your feet hit the ground for the rep to count. That would be the full thing. First, for RX, right, they'll walk all the way back to the 10-inch line, walk all the way back up to where the line is on the ground by their shoulders, have to start with your feet on the wall, and then go up the wall before your hands move. And when you come back, your fingers touch the line before your hands go down. For scale, the only difference is you are going to clear your line, so you're not going to go as far, right? There's going to be, when you are laying down on your the floor and you have the tape line across your chest, your palms do need to be on the other side, so you have a different standard, which I will say all of this again tomorrow, and you guys can watch this over and over again and kind of go to wherever you want. Your palms, all you have to do is your feet, it's the same thing. Your feet have to move first. So once your feet get on the wall, your hands can move. Your feet go on the wall, both hands need to come to the other side of the line and go back, and then feet can come back down. So essentially like either a half or a scaled version of a wall walk. You are going to still walk up the wall. It just will not be all the way to the 10-inch line. That's a good one. Like what I can do when I get there in the morning is I can go to the gym and put the 10-inch line on the floor. So at least you guys, when you get there and you're trying to warm up, you can at least see what it would look like. I think that would be pretty good. But that's going to be the fun one, right? That's going to be the real test. You guys will be tired. It's kind of a movement that, at least in my classes, we've done a couple of times, but I feel like we kind of avoid it not because we don't want to do it, it's because our gym has mirrors everywhere and we don't want to put our feet up on mirrors. But other than that, I think that was all. I mean, it's been 20 minutes now and I haven't stopped talking. That was all 3 workouts. When you check in, announcement, we had a women's RX team drop out due to COVID, right? So I replaced the team. I found 2 men that are going to be the men's RX. So if Michael and David are on here, you guys do have another team to compete against. So we did add another men's RX team. We still have the same amount of teams. All the heats are the same. Just one of the teams dropped out and we filled it in with a men's team, right? So it should be really fun. Is there any other questions? I think I answered most of them as we went. Other than that, I think we're pretty good. Any last minute questions, guys? Put them in the chat. If you like this kind of stuff, right? If you want to see more of, hey, I have questions, prize for the winners. Yeah, you get a firm handshake when you get there and then when you leave. We actually kind of haven't really talked about that, but yes, there will be prizes for the winners. I just don't know what they are yet. Thinking of that, the t-shirts, what's happening just based on the timing that we had is when you guys check in, you need to confirm your t-shirt size, and then we're going to get it to you afterwards. So don't expect the shirt the day of. The volunteers will have them on because we at least got those ordered. But we will get them to you after the competition. Just make sure when you check in, I'm going to try, hopefully it's me, right, when you get in there. Make sure you confirm your t-shirt size so I get the right one. And main thing about tomorrow is make sure you have fun, right? Especially when you get in a competitive environment, it becomes very easy to get out of control if you're super competitive, especially at an event where somebody is judging you, right? And either you get in the point where you're getting no reps or things like that, please do not freak out or take it out on the judges. A lot of the judges, it's their first time judging. A lot of you, it's your first time competing. So it's going to be a really good day. I mean, I'm going to be around to help. I'll be the MC and facilitating, but I will always be there to help watch over. And if people are doing weird stuff, I'll make sure I come over. I kind of the role as the MC and the head judge as I kind of get to look at all of it. But it should be a really good time. First 2 workouts are on the alpha floor. 3rd workout is in the gym. And then we should be wrapped up by noon. So I think it should be really good. Any other last minute questions? I'll kind of hang out for a minute. If you guys don't have my number or my email, I email it out to you. You can always email me stuff. But we are good to go with 10 teams. I'm super excited. This is the first time that Lifetime Overland Park's really done anything like this. So it's really cool. And so you can see the vision behind it, right? We had to do something like this with our community because you guys are so good at, welcoming people and doing that kind of stuff. So that way in the spring, when we do the big alpha games with big Lifetime, right? Like have support from corporate, like we can pull together Lenexa and Overland Park and deliver a really good experience. So I thank you guys for being, yes, chalk will not be available, but you can bring your own. So get friends that can give you chalk. That's a good question. I could bring a couple of them, but we'll see. We'll see. Chalk will be allowed, probably not available though. That's a good distinction. Good question. But yeah, other than that, I'm gonna kind of go ahead and kind of close off the stream. I appreciate you guys. I will see y'all in the morning. Any last minute questions, get my phone number from somebody. But yeah, I'll see you guys bright and early at 7:30 for check-in. All right, guys, take it easy.